Welcome to a new episode of Ashley Makes. Today you can watch me creating a slightly different sketchbook. I call them Playbooks. These are small, cute booklets where I do a bit of recycling or upcycling. You can already see some of the colorful pages and a few blank pages in between, which I sorted, glued together and completed with a fancy cover. A few months ago, I stumbled upon the gel plate and I have been totally in love with it ever since. I love working with a gel plate. And naturally, some prints turn out to be waste. These papers are what I chose for the playbook, but also the scrap papers, the ones I use to clean the brayer. And yes, I always keep those papers. I can't throw them away because for me this paper is still a valuable resource. And as you can see with my playbook number 1, it was a very good decision. I selected several prints and some scrap papers that I actually really like but weren't worth further working on, and some of them had even been painted or printed on the backside. I then cut all the papers I wanted to include in this book to a uniform size and folded them in the middle. As you can see, I also added a few blank pages. Therefore, I took papers with some dirt spots or papers that are a bit crumbled. It's a playbook. I just want to have fun creating it. And when it's done, it should serve as a place to quickly add a collage or something similar when I only have 10 to 15 minutes time. For this, I find these pre-informed pages most suitable. Maybe you know what I mean. For me, when I look at a completely blank sheet of paper, I quickly encounter a small creative block. I don't like that. But what I do like is having some information already in the page, while also mindfully using the resources I have. As you can see here, I've glued the folded pages together, flush at the crease in a very simple, quick and easy way. In this case, I used a very inexpensive glue stick. I wasn't super neat and precise. Again, it's a playbook. And although the booklet doesn't even have a cover yet, I trimmed the edges. It makes more sense to trim the book block, including the cover. But at that point, I didn't really know how I wanted to cover the whole thing. I just wanted to enjoy the clean-cut edges. Therefore, I have a heavy-duty cutter that can cut several centimeters of height at once. It's great, but also very dangerous. Mind your fingers, please. The whole project was then put on hold for a few weeks because other things in life took priority. Among other things, I recently created more playbooks, this time with different gluing methods. I'd love to show you that in future videos. Then I found the cover for my playbooks. Actually, no, that's not quite true. I created it, but not with the intention of making a cover. The original intention was to play, just to paint an abstract picture, just putting some colors on paper, and this is the result. I didn't want to hang it on the wall because I didn't like it enough for that. But I find it quite beautiful in general. So the colors are great, they shine and call out to me. I love these cheerful, intense neon colors. And when I had it lying on the table, I thought, hey, this is a perfect cover. And since I painted it on quite a strong cardboard, it's also suitable as a cover. So here we are. Now you see me tackling the challenge of dividing the cardboard so that I can make 4 covers in different sizes out of it. I like the idea of giving the first collection of my playbooks the same cover, even though each cover looks a bit different, because as you can see, there are different areas on the large cardboard, each with its own look. And yet, when the books are next to each other, you'll see that they belong to the same family. That was a fairly ambitious task. You currently see only 3 blocks lying here because the 4th block is still in the drying rack. As far as I can remember, I managed to find out a layout that allowed me to process all 4 books with this cover. In the end, I decided on the area I wanted to use for this first playbook, cut it out and prepared it for folding. I didn't mismeasure, everything fits perfectly. I left out 1 to 2 millimeters of space around the edges so that it fits well. The book block itself is about 16 millimeters thick. I marked this on the cover, measuring from the middle, drawing a line, and then marking 8 millimeters on each side. I scored these lines with a bone folder to make the fold as neat as possible. For this I flipped the cover because, as far as I remember, I have to score the fold from the outside so that the material is pressed inward when folded. I transferred the markings from the inside to the outside. This isn't really easy to see here. Yes, and that's almost it. I then remembered that I shouldn't glue the cover completely because otherwise it wouldn't open flat. You can see it well here. I held it in place to see how to do it best. I will glue the front side completely and leave a gap on the back side. This gives me the necessary flexibility to open it flat. I estimated the gap roughly because I just have no idea how much it should be. I used a bit more than half of the book's thickness for this gap, so about 1 centimeter. And because the paper on the last page is relatively thin, I need to reinforce it with cardboard. Otherwise it would be too flimsy for the gap. I used double-sided adhesive film to glue the cover. I bought a large roll of it many years ago. The nice thing about this double-sided adhesive film is that it only sticks slightly at first, allowing me to correct the adhesion. After an hour or so, it sticks for a lifetime. I really like working with this double-sided adhesive film because it's very clean and quick to work with, which is why I decided to use this film for the cover binding. I didn't want to use wet glue and expose the book block to moisture again. It's a fairly quick process. Align, place and press firmly. And I did the same with the back. I just placed it on, pressed it down and checked again to make sure everything fits. I then traced the crease with my thumb and index finger, and as you can see here, the gap works really well. This little triangle allows me to open the booklet completely flat. Finally, I trimmed the excess edges with an X-Acto knife. To conclude, here's an example of working with a playbook. I took a dried palette paper from my wet palette here, which I made myself. The palette paper is regular baking paper that I placed on wet sponges in a box, which keeps it moist for a long time. When I no longer need it, I take it out and let it dry. This creates great collage paper. In this case, it's even relatively transparent. And indeed, I hadn't tried this before. And that's exactly what my playbook is for. I wanted to see if I could use the baking paper for collages. How transparent is it when glued, and whether it sticks at all, because baking paper is supposed to be non-stick. For example, I can easily remove hot glue from baking paper. And yes, the test showed that it works well in a collage. I used Liquitex gloss medium for one part and a matte gel medium for the small circle on the right side. And that's exactly what these playbooks are for. Quick experimentation. Of course, I could create such a collage in a conventional sketchbook, but since the playbook already has some information, I can achieve results more quickly and get a faster reward in form of, "Oh nice, I like that." And that feels very good. The path to the first success experience is simply much shorter, and dopamine can be released more quickly. And if you liked the video, please leave me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe the channel. I already have a few more videos in the pipeline that are just waiting for the finishing touches and will be uploaded bit by bit.